Hi friends, so I am back to read you one of my favorite books to read in October, and it's about pumpkins and it's a fiction story. It's called Pumpkin Town. You see all of those pumpkins, and then there's the cow, and here's the town. So this is written by Katie McKee and it's illustrated by Pablo Bernasconi. Pumpkin Town. Let's read to find out what happens. There is the title page. It says, "Nothing is better or worse than pumpkins." Let's see what happens. Jose and his family grew pumpkins. That growing began with shiny seeds, which were followed by long vines, and those vines grew every which way. The pumpkins grew every which way too, from small to fat and tall. The jack-be-littles could be dropped into pockets. The Happy Jacks were bigger, strong enough that a boy could carry just one. And the Big Moons were bigger still, too large for 5 boys to roll. There's Jose and his family. Do you see his dad right there with the pitchfork and the hat? And then there are all the different kinds of pumpkins that they grow. Come fall, Jose and his family would gather the pumpkins and collect the vines. Then 2 trucks took the fruit to faraway cities. Some were hollowed and carved, and some were saved for pies. But before the trucks took the pumpkins, Jose and his family saved a few. They needed the seeds. When it came to saving pumpkins, Jose's father always said, "Save only the best and sell the rest." So Jose and his brothers hollowed the best pumpkins and saved only the biggest, brightest seeds. They took the duller, smaller seeds to the edge of the field overlooking the town, and they tossed them. But one gusty, dusty October day, when Jose and his brothers took the lesser seeds to the edge of the field and flung them, the wind caught those seeds, and it carried them, and it didn't let them loose until they fell like rain down on a distant town. The seeds slipped into straw roofs and settled into flower pots and sprinkled the gardens. And that seemed to be the end of it. So here they are throwing the seeds. Do you see them flying? And they fly down until they fall on the town. And they get stuck on the fence lines and in the roofs, everywhere. I thought that was the end of it though, but let's see what happens. But the next spring, rain awoke those small seeds and plants began. Then more rain fell and vines grew every which way. They wrapped around chimneys and wound through corn. At first, the townspeople liked the vines. They were lovely and delicate. But then the vines began to climb, up and down and around, growing leafy and thick. They snaked green and silent through one window and then out the other. Then fruit grew and grew and grew every which way. Soon the townspeople were stepping over pumpkins and around pumpkins and under pumpkins. It was hard to even walk a block. Rooftops sagged under the weight of the big moons. Fences fell, and when the wind blew, one had to dodge Happy Jacks and Jack-be-littles falling from trees. "Nothing is worse than pumpkins," groaned the townspeople. Meanwhile, up on their mountainside, Jose and his family cut and stacked their pumpkins, saving only the best. And when they were done, they stepped back and said, "Nothing is better than pumpkins." But when Jose and his family looked down at the town, it looked odd. It seemed so green and orange. Since their field work was done, and because Jose and his brothers were curious, they walked to the town the next day, where they saw more vines and pumpkins than they'd ever imagined. They remembered that gusty, dusty day that they'd scattered the seeds. "It is our fault," whispered Jose. "We must do something," whispered his brothers. "We rest for now." whispered Jose. But that night, Jose and his brothers cut and stacked the pumpkins and vines. They worked as quietly as they could, but the townspeople still sneaked peeks. They marveled at how well the brothers worked. The brothers climbed up poles and twined through trees and snaked silent through one window and out the other, gathering and stacking pumpkins and vines. When the townspeople awoke, they discovered a mountain of pumpkins and a hill of vines and a mound of tired brothers. While the brothers slept, the townspeople filled a wagon with hay and set 5 great watermelons between Jose and his brothers, in thanks for their aid. The wagon took the brothers back to their home, where they laid them in the glossy grass, still sleeping. And when their father found them there, he asked them what they had done to deserve the great watermelons. "We just helped the townspeople with their harvest," the brothers said, which was true, but nothing more was said. Here they are, going back to their house with their watermelons. And there is Daddy asking, "What happened?" They didn't tell him, did they? No, they just said they helped him with the harvest. They didn't even mention the pumpkins. Do you think he'll find out? Let's see. Down in the town, 5 trucks came for the mountain of pumpkins, and the townspeople were given a grand sum of money for all of that fruit. "Oh, nothing is better than pumpkins," they said. Much of the money went towards a feast held around a bonfire made by burning the hill of vines. It was decided then that the rest of the pumpkin money would be spent to carve a statue for the 5 mysterious brothers who had made a mountain of pumpkins. It took all of the next week for the townspeople to repair their roofs and their fences, and it took all of that week for Jose and his brothers and his father to eat their giant gifts. The melons were so sweet that Jose and his family said, "Nothing is better than watermelons." "Be careful with the seeds," Jose's father said. "Our fields grow pumpkins, not watermelons." So Jose's family filled a great big bowl with the seeds, and those seeds were forgotten until a day later when the wind roused Jose's father at night, and he feared that some of those watermelon seeds might be blown into their field. So by moonlight, he carried the bowl to the edge of the field, and he tossed the seeds. The wind caught those seeds and carried them and didn't let them loose until they fell like rain down on the town. The watermelon seeds slipped into straw roofs and settled into flower pots and sprinkled gardens and slid into the soil around the statue of Jose and his brothers. And that seemed to be the end of it. Oh, boys and girls. What is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen next? Jose's father took all the seeds and he threw those watermelon seeds over the field down onto the town. Do you remember what happened when that happened with the pumpkin seeds? Do you think it's going to be a watermelon town? Oh, think about that. All right, boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed this story. Bye.